So here's the challenge. The next challenge is if I open my view main window, and if I go to my design view, which is the default view for our forms right there, what I see is that I see this window with two buttons, which do the work by doing the appropriate manipulation of my array lists with these texts. But my next challenge is to maybe use a label or a few labels to actually display those resolutions. So label control is under swing controls right here in the palette of available visual gadgets that you can use in your forms. Some of them are pretty fancy, some of them are very simple, and label is one of the simplest ones, right? So if I have a label here, I can add this label, I can resize this label, I can adjust its text, but you know how when I create another control on the form, I typically go and change the name to, say, a label LBL. I'll label label it, or name it rather, LBL a resolution, right? So this is a resolution 1, right? So and I can basically copy and paste those labels and create like 5 of them or whatever number is required by the homework, right? So here we go. It still shows this text, label 1. But if I go to properties and scroll down to text, this is text, and text says label 1, so I'll just remove it and make it blank to begin with, like hit enter, and unfortunately the designer basically like collapses this to a small size, but I'll resize it, right? So it's one single label. I can press Control C to copy this control and Control V to make a duplicate of it. Okay, so it's easier for me to use my designer view here to arrange these labels and make copies of them. And if I keep doing this Control C, Control V business, and perhaps there are other ways to actually, now I regret that I deleted the text out of it, so that it's a little harder for me to work with. But I will be just I'll try to do my best to place them on the form. So I have 3 of them, and now I can have, if I say Control V, I can have another one on the form right now, right? So I can basically keep adding these to my panel, and one more. So altogether I will have 5 labels, and so it's my my visual design isn't best so far, but it should work. Now what about I'm just thinking, what about my names? So each label, I will locate the label and say change variable type. So now I have labeled these, I have given names to my labels. So the one at the top I want to be used as label 1, and it says 2 components of the same on the same form cannot have the same name. Okay, I'll just click OK and just go to the bottom one and go back and change its variable name. So here's the one at the bottom. I will change it to number 4. So this one already has one, so let me change it to 5. Change variable name to 5. And there is already one with that name as well. So it's a bit of a difficulty that I'm experiencing here. So, but I'll do this. I'll just change this to, instead of being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll change it to like, if you think about them, if it's really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll just name them 15. So 15 would be at the bottom, so that I don't have to struggle with these names. The next one up will be 14, label resolution 14, and the next one up will be if I change variable name, will be 13, right? And the next one will be 12. It really doesn't matter as long as they have unique numbers. And there's at the top, I'll call it number, is it number 12? Okay. So 12, 13, 14, 15. So this is how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I missed one, I think. So this one will be number 11. No, that's already 15. Let me just update the text so I can at least see what the text is. So this is the bottom one. This is number 5. This is the next one. If I look at its properties, I will make this text. Here's my text label. Okay, here at the top, this will be 4. The one prior to this will be 13. And the prior one will have text 2. And this is labeled 12, and the one at the top will have text named 1. Okay, so I have some visual clues to what my labels are numbered and how they are arranged in the form. I cannot say that this is a perfect form arrangement, but it's close. Okay, so I can work with my logic perhaps. Right. Let me save this, and now let's look at the source code. Okay, so in the source code at the bottom of this form, I have those labels. One of them is called label resolution 4. So I need to locate it and rename it to be label resolution 11 to be consistent with everything else I've tried doing here. I'm just going back to the design, find label 4, it's this one at the top, change variable name and make it label 11. You don't have to struggle the way I struggle, but I'm just showing you what I would do in a normal application programming situation with my labels. So another look at the source, and so I have 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So I have 5 of these labels. Now you can think about those individual J labels, and they're kind of they're a little bit ugly in terms of how you work with them because they have, this is not an array, there is no index. Yes, the names are unique and look almost like an array, but they're not an array, they're just labels. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to the top and I'm going to say import, okay, import Java, I think it's what's the name of the package? Java Swing, I think. Is it Swing or, and inside Swing I want label. It's not label, it's Java, oh yes, Java Extended, Java X Swing label. Okay, so I will import a label so that now, interestingly enough, I can do something like this. I can say private, okay, private JLabel, and I can create an array of labels because this is just an array of objects, and I can name it labels, labels, right? So I have an array of labels, and I will simply basically create it as new, right? New JLabel array of 5 elements, right? It's easier for me to create an array of labels. I'm not creating the actual labels, but it's easy for me to create an array of labels. And initially, this array of labels is simply an array of objects, and this array of objects will contain like 5 references to null objects, right? Non-existing objects. But I have my constructor for the form which handles my main view, right? So it has this init components. If you examine what init components does, and I assume that it's somewhere covered under this generated code, if you look at this init components clearly creates whole bunch of labels. In fact, it creates new label each time I was using my my variable names on the form. So all of them 11 through 15 are being initialized by this init components. So knowing this, I can now go to the constructor of my view main and now say that this time I will do this once in the constructor, and I will say that labels 0, right? The first initial element of my array of labels should equal now after the components being initialized, not before, after. Label resolution 11, right? So I can now do this 5 times, and this way I can populate my array 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, referring to labels 12, 13, 14, and 15 accordingly. So now, despite the fact that I've used this fancy designer which imposes its own, naming of labels and other controls on me, I still found a way to actually manufacture an array of 5 labels, which is simply an array of 5 references to objects, and then initialize labels that every element of that array 0 through 4 with the corresponding label numbers. And more so, I can now test my arrangements by maybe like using one of these labels, a label or labels number 0, right? And basically use what? Set, right? Set text, is it? Set text, and set it to some text like hello, this is a test, right? Exclamation point. And with this type of arrangement, so now I'm using my own array to refer to these labels. And I think you should begin to appreciate what I've done instead of struggling with some kind of like if-else statements which would determine which specific control to use. I can now write loops, and I can use index to refer to an array of labels, but let's verify that everything will look as expected, right? So if you see when I'm running it, see how this hello, this is a test, the first label text shows up, and the rest is still populated with the numbers that I've done to basically make sure that I make my arrangements of those labels appropriately. But here's this text which got populated on the form, and I've never done setting this text by referring to the original label. Instead, what I've done is, of course, that I've used my own array of labels And I like arrays, so it's okay for me to just do this once and populate the array of, with the appropriate object references. But beyond that point, and beyond the constructor of my form, it's just going to be a very easy type of thing to do. So this is my starting ground. So I have some labels. I'm going to comment this out because this is my debug statement which I've used, and I could see how it works, right? But my next step is to actually begin to populate the labels, make them visible, make them invisible, and do some of this manipulation. So let's do that in the next segment.